Well, here we go. Podcast number 3. Are you
Ready.
excited?
I'm excited because it's Darcy.
Well, I'm excited because we've been trying to get you on for a while now, and you've been notoriously camera shy and mic shy.
I'm very busy. I'm,
Yeah.
keeping this place together.
Well, that's true. She is the
It is
glue.
true. Well, so for folks don't know, you're the assistant DA, and you got quite an impressive background. And George and I are both Ivy Leaguers too, so we appreciate Princeton
That
folks.
is not true.
No, we're not.
That is
CU,
not true.
Virginia Tech, and we got Princeton for you. Captain of the tennis team.
That's correct.
Pretty impressive. So what led you on this path then? You could have done anything.
Yeah, so I grew up on the East Coast, ended up at Princeton, played international junior tennis throughout my whole life. Still play, although play more golf now.
And you were
tennis.
ranked too, you were
Yep,
saying.
I was number 1 in New England,
Wow.
top 30 in the country for quite a bit, and played all 4 years at Princeton. That's where I met my husband. He was captain of the Princeton tennis team when I was a freshman, so we locked that
see
down
what's going on.
pretty quickly. And then
Locked it down.
my dad went to Princeton, my uncle went to Princeton. It's a history in our household, so it was so much fun. It was wonderful. I was in the Woodrow Wilson School there for international affairs and public policy, which was great. And then followed my now husband of long time up to Boston, where I went to Northeastern Law.
You had to say it like
Yeah,
that.
well, you said,
Yeah, I lived there for like 10
no,
years.
but
you
once you
did-
said it,
Yeah, it's the way you said it.
Baston.
It's like you had to throw in the Baston. Like it's
packed the
B-A.
cast.
See, I don't even notice it. It just sort of comes
Just happens.
out there. So you
Like-
seem to enjoy it though.
Like if you spelled it B-A-S-T-O-N, how would you pronounce it?
Boston.
And how would you spell it? How would you pronounce it with B-O-S-T-O-N?
Boston.
Yeah, so it's the A's and the O's don't
Yep.
matter anymore.
No more
So-
questions, Your Honor. I think
First off, Princeton, is that the one in Boston?
No,
that the
it's
one?
the Far
New Jersey.
Superior.
Is it
School
Connecticut?
in New Jersey,
Oh, New Jersey. I've heard
in a
of it.
little
Garden
town
State.
called Princeton, New
Yes.
Jersey.
Oh,
it's a
ironic.
great school. So no one in your family had any kind of law experience?
No,
Tell me about your folks.
Yeah, so ended up in law school. My mom had her PhD in 18th century French women artists, so she was an art
Same.
historian.
Yeah,
Very
that's
right up
George's
George's
major.
alley. Fluent in French over here.
Gee.
And
Wait.
my dad actually went to a business school in Boston,
Oh, really?
known as Harvard Business School
Oh
after
my
Princeton.
gosh.
Was
So
is that near Boston College?
it's in Cambridge, but it's in the area. But he was ROTC at Princeton, and so he was.
Boom, baby.
Yeah,
Okay.
he
Which
was
branch?
Lieutenant of the 1st Infantry in Vietnam, so he was Big Red One.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
served
Big Red One
for
out in
multiple years over there, had 3 Purple Hearts. So
Wow,
yep,
that's legit.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's
Which war?
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
That's
Yep.
impressive.
So
How have we never had this conversation?
No,
you never asked me.
because you've
I
never been on
never-
the podcast together before. That's what this is all
This
about.
is see,
No, but
learning
that-
more about
but
Darcy over here.
Very impressive, folks, but nothing to do with what you're doing.
No, not
So
at all.
What led you to
So
that?
ended up in Northeastern specifically because they had the co-op program there. So I don't know if you know this about Northeastern, but instead of
It's in Baston, right?
it is in Boston, instead of going just going to class all the time, you go out on an internship every other quarter. So you get
At bars.
yes,
Because it's
obviously
Boston.
in the afternoon. There's a lot of studying there.
Baston Canon.
So you get 4 internships instead of just the summer ones, which is
Oh,
awesome.
That's
So
pretty cool.
I clerked for a federal magistrate judge, loved that,
Wow.
Judge Bowler, and then from there got an internship at the attorney's office in Boston in their narcotics unit. Loved that, was fascinating, working on wiretaps, and I was just an intern, but really got to know the U.S. attorneys, and I still keep in touch with some of them. I then did a summer internship for a firm and hated it, absolutely hated it. I was like, this is not meaningful.
But you were making money, you said.
Oh yeah, I
That's
mean,
like
you make
George did too. George
40
took the
grand in
money.
a summer, right?
Yeah.
And that's, more than I
That's legit.
made starting as a DA in Boston, and then ended up back at the Suffolk County DA's office as an intern in their narcotics unit. And from there was where I got my first job as a prosecutor in Dorchester, Massachusetts, doing all things gangs, drugs, safe neighborhood initiative wise.
And for folks that don't know, Suffolk is Boston.
It is Boston, that's correct.
Plus-
So
So how did you and George cross paths? Because you're in Baston.
Yeah,
He's here.
so I was a DA there for 6.5 years, ended up getting promoted out of county court, got to do a ton of gang stuff there, into the narcotics unit, which is district court in Boston. And then my husband was doing a ton of work out here. We decided to, we wanted to start a family and everything, that we were going to move to Colorado. I thought my career was over. And
And it was.
pretty much, look where I am now.
After this podcast, it is. Yeah.
And Leora Joseph, who used to work for George, is a very good friend of both of ours, had moved out here from the Boston DA's office, and
Nice effort.
Dan Connolly, the DA in Boston, did me a favor and called Leora and said, look, I had crossed paths with her on a couple things in the office, but she was always high up, the head of the SVU unit. And suddenly I found myself walking into the Arapahoe DA's office, I think on a Friday or something, met George, and I think you hired me like the next day
There
or
it is.
something.
Boom.
So,
Yeah.
but started over in county court again. I think I said Darcy Kofol for the Commonwealth a couple times in my first trial here doing DUIs. And then the rest is history. And I was like, look, I want to do narcotics again, and wanted to prove to him that I could be his gang, drug, everything prosecutor. And he gave me that opportunity and started the narcotics unit, which became the narcotics and gang unit, which became the organized crime unit.
Yeah.
So that's
Darcy has overcome her impediments of being a low energy dark cloud. As you can tell, she's really turned the corner and become much more positive. A couple things that you might not brag about, but I will, and that is when Darcy came to us from the Boston office, I'm not going to call it Boston.
you can do it.
She had a ton of experience, but not in Colorado law. So
Yeah.
I said, look, I'm going to hire you, but I have to put you at the bottom rung of this ladder. She didn't complain about it at all. And in fact, we've had this policy even now, and that is seniority only matters to the extent that it gives you the experience to prove you're ready for the next step. Within, I can't even remember how many months, it wasn't that many, her own colleagues from county court were coming to me and saying, she's got to move on. She's like, and I thought, that bad, huh? Red Sox thing, and they're like, no.
Patriots is more of a problem
They're
for
like,
you.
back then that was a
Bruins.
big one. Yeah.
Yeah. it's just
Yeah.
Red Sox.
And they said, no, she's just she overmatches the work that we have here. She can do so much more. So one thing leads to another, and we promote her, and then we've got to start this unit. I don't know if you know this, Tom, but Colorado legalized recreational marijuana, really regulated.
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so our thought was, look, there's a lot going on in the drug world. We probably need to have someone specific to do this. And Darcy is a self-starter, tons of
Oh, yeah.
initiative. And even though she doesn't display it here on camera, vicious, just cruel, vicious, indifferent to human suffering. And
He's right.
That's not
He's
true.
not wrong. I mean, I
And,
do it with a smile. but-
originally, I think we thought, hey, marijuana cultivation, like the illegal grows,
Right.
that'll take up, what, a third or 50% of the work, and then we'll do all the hard drugs and stuff like that. And then pretty quickly, Darcy came to me and said, it's like 75 or 80% of what we're doing are all of these illegal grows. Because
Yeah.
regulating recreational marijuana didn't do anything to hurt the black market, it just professionalized it. And so that's what Darcy found out for us. And then she's like, I need more help. So we started to grow the unit, and it became something much bigger and more aggressive. And of course, all of the agents at the different federal partners that we have love Darcy. And so something I was very, very proud of when I was DA was they would come to us in many ways because of Darcy and say, we'd rather file our cases with you guys than with the U.S. Attorney's Office. It got so bad. It got so bad that the U.S. Attorney had to reach out to the head of these different agencies and say, listen, you got to bring us some work. You got to give us a chance to at least turn down some of these cases because we're not doing anything.
Wow.
And
That's
so that was a
impressive,
huge point of pride. And now Darcy's kind of, listen, as long as we're here, a little bit of a gripe session here. Darcy's not only the number 2 in the office, but I think Darcy is such a trench fighter. She's such like a combat veteran of these things. It is hard for her to not see herself as the tip of the spear on all of these.
Yeah.
So even though she is kind of handpicked and grown this organized crime unit that we have, it's almost like she can't watch them leave the house to go to college. You know what I mean? It's almost like
Well,
she's like, I'll just drive you to college.
She
And
wants
then
to
I'll just
roll
sit
her
in on
sleeves
some
up.
of your classes.
Yep.
And I'll make you dinner tonight. And they're like, Mom! You know what I mean? Like, let her do
You don't want to hang out with me anymore?
Yeah.
Like-
No, but that's a great point, and I wanted to ask you that too, because what is so different about your new title now? It's night and day, right, from what you were doing before.
Yeah, so I when I ran George's organized crime unit, I mean, I was running and gutting for 8 years probably at
Long
that
time,
point. Doing wiretaps, gang cokas, gang murders, big frickin' murder cases, witness execution murder cases.
You should
And
tell folks what COCA is.
oh, sorry. Yes, that is the Organized Crime Act in Colorado. It's the same thing as basically it's our RICO.
Yeah.
So any organized group, I mean, we would do these huge takedowns. We would be up on wiretap lines for months, and then fentanyl came along. I did a ton of fentanyl cases trying to eradicate that, fentanyl death cases as well. So that was really fun for me, was to grow what he's referring to as like my baby, which
Yeah.
was my thing. And I wanted us to have, and this is what we will have, once we're get going in the 23rd, I wanted everyone to want to bring me their business because I wanted to give them the best product. That involves me being on call 24/7, warrants being turned around as quickly as possible, working with the law enforcement agencies, whether it was DEA, HSI, even the local narcotics teams, so that they knew if they brought it to me, I was never going to say no. It didn't have to have a bow
Right.
on it. I would take anything from the beginning, which is what he's talking about, the attorney's office, and just grow it. And suddenly we would be at 30 defendants for an indictment and thousands of fentanyl pills off the street. So, but I took great pride in the fact that they wanted to come to me. And in the 23rd, what Colleen Greer, our head of our organized crime unit, she is on the same mindset that I had, and that we will provide the best prosecution product in the state of Colorado.
Well, that's a point of pride. But also, like George, you're also, you have kids.
Mhm.
How do you balance your family with this? And George, I'd ask you the same question.
Yeah, so I have
Because you're on call 24/7.
I am still. I have a great supportive husband who's always let me run with this, even when I was only making $30,000 in Boston as a district attorney. So I'm very lucky in that regard. And what I really appreciate from George is he's such a proponent of moms working in his office and dads. And so he's been really
Not
great.
so much dads. but more moms, yeah.
We have so many strong female leaders in this office, and he can attest to when he looks around, the chiefs are primarily women, which I take great pride in. But he's also very supportive, and hey, you got to pick up your kid or something like that. We want a
He's the
family.
same,
Yeah, we want a family environment, because you can work all day, but your family, is the most important thing in my life, at least. This job comes very close second, I will tell you. But I've been able to work through the years of, hey, if I know in advance there's a takedown or I need to be here for this and this, like I've been able to manage my schedule. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Am I exhausted? Yes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't show it in terms of my
But I'll
positivity.
say this too: the
same
biggest,
thing,
the
George.
biggest hurdle I think for you, and frankly most of the people we've attracted to the office, is not one that is institutional. It is that you don't want to let go. Like
Yep.
you want to be there. You want the phone calls. You want to go out to the
100%.
scenes. You want to do all this stuff, and it's like, okay, I mean, whatever you want. And again, I brought this up in a lot of public settings, so we should probably capture it for eternity here on the podcast. I'm starting to worry that Darcy's influence is creating an environment where someone's going to be able to argue statistically that we're hostile to white men. I don't know if that's real, but Tom, you and I make up maybe 50% of the white men in the office.
Full disclosure, I was in HR today talking about that very issue. I'm kidding. But yeah, but there are a lot of strong women in this office.
Absolutely.
And so that's a point of pride. Strong men too.
60% of our leadership
Yeah.
is women. And I will tell you, again, this is a hidden gem for you doing that. And that is because, and folks don't know this, our office on this floor, for the 100 people or close to 100 that we have here, we only have one men and one woman's bathroom.
Yeah,
And the
it
more
works out.
women, Darcy, that you have encouraged me to hire, it actually makes it much more pleasant in the metro.
There you
I'm
go.
just saying, there's just less people.
Whatever
using it,
makes
so
you happy,
Okay.
George.
Well, that's,
it's a silver lining
Good.
to the sexism that you have brought. I'm kidding.
So much,
I'm totally
so
kidding.
much.
You know I'm kidding.
no, but George has talked about how you all are only hiring the best of the best.
Oh my
and if
gosh.
that's male, female, whatever,
So
it doesn't matter.
Absolutely, and I mean, I would
It's a
say
great
this
team.
to the leadership in the 18th spaces. I'm so proud of who we were able to recruit down to Douglas County. The experience you have here, the aggressiveness, just the thoroughness of these prosecutors that came down here that weren't down here before is really impressive. And to the people of, Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln, you are getting the best of the best, and we're going to make sure that we are the premier district attorney's office in Colorado.
And transparent too. I mean, George was just on, a show with mostly a hostile audience, and he was answering questions,
Yep.
nothing to hide.
It was Channel 9.
It
No, I'm kidding. It wasn't, Kyle. It was. I'm joking.
It was not channel. But so, Okay, so what is it about this job that gets you going every day? We were asking George, what gets you out of bed? I mean, you're an athlete. Do you get that same kind of buzz doing wiretaps and narcotics? And...
You know, for me, actually doing something that matters in the community in which you live is the best job you can ever have. When I won Prosecutor of the Year last year, that's exactly what I said to everybody at the.
Who gave you that award?
Oh, thank you to John Kellner.
Oh.
He's
Yeah.
the one that.
But what organization?
Oh,
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
just the office.
Colorado District Attorney's Council.
For the
so-
state of Colorado.
For the state of
Yeah, that's
Colorado.
Well,
Yep.
we buried the lead. We should have led with that. That's really impressive.
So, which meant so much to me, you know, and I had won Prosecutor of the Year for the Colorado Drug Investigators Association before, but to be recognized by my peers, I mean, that's a once in a lifetime,
Huge.
Well, that's
you know,
giant.
honor. And I got up there and I said, this is the best job ever. It really is. I mean, being able to do something that means so much, especially now, because I live in the 23rd, every policy that we work on or decisions that are made and making sure you have the best prosecutors, investigators, victim witness advocates, that actually affects, in my opinion, my day-to-day life, everyone's day-to-day life here. And being able to come down and say, no, there's gonna be accountability. We are going to make sure there are consequences to people's actions because I want my kids to get on the bus in the morning and be safe. And so to me, that has always been why I do what I do. When it came to narcotics, every amount of drugs that I could take off the street in those takedowns meant that perhaps a fentanyl pill didn't get to a kid that makes one bad decision on one bad day. You know, we talked about, I went and testified for the fentanyl bill, which did not make it out of committee, but I feel so strongly that we do have the ability to change lives in that regard. And what's a little bit different about narcotics is you're, as a prosecutor, part of that investigation from the very beginning, right? So you're working with your law enforcement, which again is such an amazing part of this job, getting to work with high quality agents, investigators, officers. And I always was of the thinking like George's is that we're a team. You're not a prosecutor or lawyer up here, you know, and your officer is down here. You respect everyone and you work together to get the best outcomes. So for me, that's been really awesome. And, you know, to move up, so I was the senior chief in Arapahoe for the last year and a half before I became Georgia's assistant district attorney. What I like about this position is that you do have that ability to make sure that everyone is the best, that they are working at a certain level, and you are giving that product back to the community, and policies that we're making and we've already changed here in terms of, you know, what are we offering for this? What bond are we asking for that? I think that makes a huge difference in the community that you live.
Well, what's been the hardest part about this job for you? The transition, obviously going from, you know, prosecutor to like kind of managing
Yeah.
the office.
Well, you
Now
know,
we're talking about cakes for birthdays.
yeah.
So
Oh
I'm
gosh,
sure
that's a
about
very
that. It's
controversial
actually
topic.
Only George.
You know, George and I came in with a vision, and we're implementing that vision little by little, day to day. You know, for me, it's not being in the courtroom, which is so foreign to me. That is my place I feel the most comfortable. You know, I'm dealing with a lot more HR issues or going to law enforcement every day. And I have to say, the response from the local law enforcement agencies has been incredible. They seem very happy with our office and the product that they're getting. But really, he's got it. I mean, I have total FOMO. I want to go out to the scene. I want to be that person, you know, and I'm used to being the woman in the arena. And now I'm a little bit more behind the scenes, obviously. I mean, I'm definitely going to take big cases, and I'll take homicides here and there and be there on wiretaps.
Oh,
but
no, I mean, yes, you will.
but it's much harder, you know, to do that when you're
Yeah.
running an office of 100 people and trying to support George and everything he wants to accomplish.
That's the hardest part.
That's
I
a
think
full-time job.
the other thing that the role that Darcy plays is if you can envision the meme with the little cartoon dog who's sitting there in a room surrounded by fire, and at the bottom it says everything is fine. That is also Darcy's role. No matter what happens, Darcy will say that exact line. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
And it is. It's going to be fine.
It's fine. I'm not entirely convinced yet, but so far it's worked out.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's an exciting time now. We've only been here, how many, like two?
We're in
months?
week 6.
Week 6. So looking, you know, get out the crystal ball now. What do you see down the road here? You know, 4 years, say George runs again, maybe. What do you think?
Listen, I don't have any doubts that Darcy's going to replace me as district attorney. I just hope it's after I've voluntarily left.
Oh,
I just
right.
don't want it to be the product of another indictment or something like that.
No.
No, I mean, what I'm excited about is to get this place running, you know, like a well-oiled machine. And this is not a dig at, you know, John Kellner is a very, very good friend of mine at all. we
that
just
guy.
have things
Good.
that, because we're a standalone DA's office now, we can do, and we can treat every single one of those cases like it is an attempted murder or something like that. And that's my goal, is that every case we have enough attorneys, enough support staff that, people are crossing T's, dotting I's, and getting to really, sit there and work on these things. I mean, I can tell you at one point in the 18th when I was there, I had 16 murder cases that were just mine. That's untenable. You cannot do that. I mean, I was doing it, but
You were,
you
yeah.
know, but I want to make sure that my people have the resources to do the best job possible. And so far, the response has been fantastic. So, that's my goal, is to get this so that it runs, so well, and that people are happy, that they're not at the level of burnout. We see that with a lot of prosecutors throughout their career, and that I'm here to make their day-to-day better. And that's what I'm doing, is I'm going around the office and meeting with every single person that works here to see what their goals are for the year, what I can do better, what policies, if they have ideas, and to try and really, make them excited, which I think they are, to come to work every day.
And they all say more cake.
Yeah,
And that's-
cake is pretty much
Cake.
the top of the list.
Yes.
But what are you most proud of now, just in the short time you've been around? What are you, both of you, most
Yeah,
proud
so
of?
I'm so proud of the communication that I think
Oh,
we've
yeah.
changed with not only law enforcement, but I think even the communication within the office has really improved as well. We've been going every week to different police agencies, federal agencies, and I, have instituted a rule that on certain cases that our DAs have to reach out and talk to the detective about, hey, I think we're going to offer this. Just having that line of communication, which is how I ran my organized crime unit, just changes the entire dynamic. And that's what I've heard thus far, just in those little changes of, hey, reach out to your counterpart and talk about it, and get their input.
Get the lines of communication
Correct.
open, yeah.
Because I don't want officers doing a lot of casework and suddenly they don't know what happened to the case and they hear
Yeah.
something happened to it. So that's been a big change that we have instituted.
So what is the best part of your job?
The best part of my job is when
Working with George.
No,
and the cake.
no,
It's
that's
gotta
not
be the
true.
cake.
That's it.
No, and I love that his vision aligns with mine, which has been really satisfying, that we can work together, and I can be the person in the background implementing what he wants to happen, and I think we're doing a really good job with that. My biggest thing is when one of my DAs or support staff comes with an idea and are like, hey, I think we can run with this, because that's what he did with me, and I would never be sitting here if not for him and him believing in me. But being able to do that, and someone saying, hey, we can make this better, or I want to do this big case, and then giving them the support to do that, I think that's the best part of this. On top of that, just knowing that the changes we're making day to day are making the 23rd Judicial District a safer place is a huge deal to me.
No, that's huge. And George, in some of the other podcasts, has talked about some of the big cases he's been on, obviously. What are some of your cases you look back on and that made a mark?
Can I just say that this is a little crazy, because Darcy has done some of the huge cases in the state of Colorado, but before you was not in a place to get the kind of attention those cases deserved. I mean, that's crazy. People should be like, oh yeah, that's Darcy. She handled the quadruple homicide and blah, blah, blah. But there just wasn't the same effort on transparency and
Yes.
stuff that we did for you. So.
But what you can talk about, what cases, are burned in your memory that made an impression?
Yeah, so there have been a lot of murders that I've tried, but one of the ones I think that really changed my whole career was the People versus Terrence and Tina Black. These were two individuals, a mom and a son, who were part of a marijuana aggravated robbery at the Cure off of Yale. And when they came back from doing this aggravated robbery with ski masks and cars and guns and all this kind of stuff, and that was during the time where they had not just legalized it, but people were doing ag robs on marijuana dispensaries all the time, and then going out of state and selling it for thousands and thousands of dollars. There was a mechanic named David Henderson that saw the aftermath of the robbery and ended up reporting it when they came back to the motel that he was working on their car. The discovery went out. They learned that he was the one that snitched on them, and about a couple months later, he was executed, shot 10 times outside of his mother's house. The case, when I got it, had gone nowhere in terms of the homicide, and I was just sort of starting to be your gang prosecutor, I guess, and my boss at the time, Clinton McKenzie, who's now our intake chief here, walked down the hall and said, I have a case for you. And so I took over the robbery part of it, but we didn't have suspects for the murder case. We just knew that the witness on this had been executed. And little by little, I was able to flip co-defendants from the aggravated robbery to get to the point that we were able to prove the murder. It was a 6-week trial. It was the most wild thing. Talk about like a true crime story. It was, the characters in this were nuts. George gave me Andrew Steers and Laura Wilson, who were 2 top prosecutors to try it with, but it was that big a case. I mean, they had security on us 24/7. It was a Crips group of individuals. We had snipers on the roof. It was nuts. But that really, I think, proved that I could do something of that magnitude to everyone. The second one was the one that I tried last year, People versus Castorena, an individual who was upset that his the mother of his 2 children was trying to leave him. A classic DV. He was escalating, and the family was terrified of him, and he lay wait in her house and proceeded to execute her entire family. That is a quadruple murder. He then fled to Mexico. Based on my connections with the feds, I was able to get him back, doing 1 million warrants. He couldn't stay off of Facebook, and we were able to get him in Zacatecas, Mexico, where the authorities down there got him at gunpoint and extradited him back to the U.S. And so Lauren Reibel, who's in the office in our DVSB unit, and I prosecuted that and convicted him of murdering this woman's entire family. But that, I'm proud of that, because what a lot of people did not see was the victim in that, who you can imagine, she's seeing her ex for the first time, who just systematically killed everyone and tried to kill her, but ran out of bullets. Wouldn't walk down the back hallway to come into the courtroom. And I sat there, and I'm very proud of myself for this. Walked her a step. She would walk 2 steps back, walk a step. And I got her in there, and we got the conviction. So, but I will tell you, that video haunts me still to this day. And I, as you said, I'm a cold-blooded. Nothing
No, you're not.
bothers me, but
I think it was insensitive to human suffering.
yes.
Yes,
But
that's
the
true. That's
video
a little
of her sister, right before she's executed, putting her 2 little kids to bed in the same bed, still gets me, and I still have nightmares of it to this day. But we got justice, and I could not be more proud of that. So that was part of why I won the award last year as well. But those are 2 of the big ones I did. And then the fun ones are the drug cases where no one's dying.
We're learning a lot about Darcy. Yeah, no, that's fun.
Yes.
No, but so what do you say to young kids who are looking to get into your all's field? What do you say to them? George, what do you say? Don't do it. That's for the video people. You say don't do it.
It depends. I mean, I didn't even want to be an attorney.
I know, you
So I mean,
fell
for
into
me, it was just happened. I don't know, Darcy, if you always wanted to be an attorney, was there a point at which you were like, this is where I'm going?
But it wasn't in her family either. So.
Yeah, no, you know, I always wanted to affect change. You know, that was why I ended up at the Woodrow Wilson School. I always wanted to be someone that was a change agent. And really, I loved Princeton, but either you were going to go be an investment banker in New York City, or you were going to go to law school or go work in the government somewhere. And so, you know, I, at that time, was like, all right, law school, I guess it is, and then we'll see what happens. And really, I credit Northeastern on that for giving me those opportunities to see what I was passionate about. And, you know, like I said, I credit my husband a lot for supporting me as a young DA in Boston, where I'm working, I mean, I'm still working ridiculous hours, but, you know, you're learning how to practice law there. And, you know, the narcotics stuff, I really enjoyed the gang work, narcotics work in Dorchester, and I ended up being the Safe Neighborhood prosecutor there, which is a federal grant for narcotics and gangs, and I really could feel like I was making a difference there. And then I don't know, I loved narcotics. I loved working with the officers, getting to be there from the beginning of the case to the end, and feeling like you're part of this big team. You know, making that difference is something that I just don't think you can get in other jobs, specifically not in law.
And George has talked about how he's gone for money sometimes, you know, every now and then. You've done the same thing, but that's not the answer.
Oh,
Right?
it was miserable. I was miserable. So
There aren't a lot of things you can do work-wise that are about good and evil, right and wrong, and we do it. And frankly, for anyone who's interested at all in the criminal justice system, there is no more powerful position than prosecutor in that position. Way more powerful than judges, far superior to defense, not because they don't play their roles, but the amount of discretion, the amount of authority that you have is unparalleled by anyone else in the criminal justice system. It's not for everyone, but you can see how having good people in these positions makes a difference, because you could really make a lot of mischief for people if you don't have the right commitment to values and the Constitution and stuff like that. So it's good to have Darcy on board to try to keep us on track.
No, the bar is set really high and everybody kind of rises to that level too. So are we gonna get cake? That's the big thing.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna have a cake here for this.
Well, I was
It's our
told-
third
I was
podcast.
told
I
we
got
were.
3 white
George is
frosted
gonna bake it
chocolate.
himself, so
Oh,
we'll see how
nobody
that
wants
goes.
that.
There's a file in it.
Nobody
You
wants
know,
that.
yeah.
It's gonna look a lot like scrambled eggs, 'cause that's what I can make.
There you go. Well, anything else you want to add, Darcy, about just your job, about working with George, or the 23rd?
Yeah, and I mean,
What's
I've
the
said
bottom
this to him, it's such an honor to be given this opportunity in this position. I'm so passionate about what we do. I'm really excited about the team that we have amassed down here, and the fact that we have that opportunity to really get that bar as high as humanly possible. You know, I love to see the people that work for me shine. I think that's something that George, not to speak for you, but that's a great part of being in the administration of a district attorney's office. But, you know, when we go around and talk to law enforcement and even, you know, to the community, you want to have the best district attorney's office, because if you have one that does not have consequences to people's action, there's no point at all. And that's what we are going to do, and we will continue to recruit and I believe retain the best prosecutors and support staff and victim witness advocate and investigators possible, so that the people of the 23rd see a notable change.
Now, the big question is, the Nuggets are playing the Celtics this week, and who are you going for?
I'm still a Celtics fan.
Oh,
God,
sorry.
Darcy.
I can't help it.
Can't work
I
like
am a
this.
Patriots, Red Sox
I
girl
know
all the
you are.
way, and
I don't
he
think
hired
we-
me again, so he clearly
I know.
doesn't care that much.
I know, but I thought it was meter. I don't think we've ever podcasted an exit interview before. But this feels like
It's the
it's been
first
really
one.
great working with you, Darcy.
It's,
I
uh,
do
first
remember,
and
didn't
last
I show
podcast.
up in like a Patriots, or no, when the Pats played the Broncos in 2016 and the Broncos won?
Yeah.
You guys made me wear a Broncos
Oh, yeah,
jersey
for
in
sure.
court, and then the
Oh.
next year the Pats won, right?
Yeah.
And then I showed up in a Pats hat for some event. So I mean, it will continue.
Okay.
It's fine.
It's a problem. It's a problem. It would be worse right now if you were a Lakers fan. Because
Yeah,
that-
after that beat down the other night.
come on.
But we did, other than when
With Doncic.
Denver sports teams are playing New England sports teams, we do support all of the Denver sports teams.
Oh,
So,
really?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we've gotten on
I'm
board
not
with that.
sure I
It's
believe
just,
that. I think-
well, I mean, the Patriots are so bad right now. It's kind of just pathetic.
By the way,
So
everyone in America cheers that. The only other team they want to see lose more than the Patriots now is the Chefs.
Yeah.
The Chefs
And they did. The Chefs obliged.
Boy,
against
they
the
sure
Eagles.
did. Thank you, Eagles, wherever you
Well,
are.
Dorsey's got her Eagles colors on today.
there you
Actually,
go.
Celtics.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to add? We're so happy to have you here on the
Oh,
show.
yeah.
Finally, it's been worth the wait. I'm telling you.
That's right.
Yes.
We'll have to do this on a regular basis.
Yeah,
Can't
we
wait.
will. That's
Very
right. So
excited.
you're going to be part B of the Darcy Kofol interview will be next week.
Oh,
that's
no.
I'm teasing.
This with pictures.
I
Yes.
mean, I
Okay.
can tack, so I can definitely do that. So if you need me to, as you know, I am a talker. So
I feel like we're going to have to invest in some dialect or accent courses or something. like
You know
that
what's
to
really
help you
weird is
speak
when
English.
I've really tried to eradicate it, but when I'm not thinking about it and I'm just talking, it will pop out,
Well,
obviously.
just the
So
best. That's like,
yeah, it
bad.
gets really bad in trial. People are probably like, "Where's this girl from? Where did you find
Yeah,
her?
what's wrong with
what's
her?"
wrong with her? Like,
That's
she's
right.
having issues." So,
Well, we appreciate you coming on here, Darcy.
no, absolutely,
So-
and
so
you know,
much.
it's funny. When I left Boston, is that better?
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Ooh.
Sounded
I
downright
really
Where?
did. I really did.
Beantown? Yes.
Not to George's, not anything to do with George, but I really thought my career was over. I would never have envisioned I'd be sitting here with both of you right now. It's been an absolute wild ride,
Yep.
but it's been so much fun, and so proud of everything that, you know, George and I have accomplished, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple of years and
Me
seeing
too.
where we go.
Me too. Hopefully
Excellent.
not to jail, but you know, set the bar low. Great to have Darcy on board. She makes the office a lot better.
She does.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
So,